Welcome back to a CGTN live stream from the European Development Days in Brussels. I'm Mariam Zaidi. Now, as you can see behind me, lots of people having various meetings, and over here you can see all of the different kinds of media activity going on, TV sets. And just behind my camera and just over here, there is a discussion going on with the young leaders who are at this event. Now, what is this event about? It's all about Development Days. The EU Commission is the one who's organising this event in collaboration with lots of NGOs, private and public sector actors. You've got African presidents, you've even got royalty. Well, now to discuss all of that and especially to focus on Africa, I'm now joined by a panel of lovely guests. So, kicking things off, we have Jean-Luc, who is a blogger from Faces to Hearts. He's here to share human stories from across the various countries that you've travelled in, and specifically you're going to talk to us about European development projects in Africa. We also have, representing the African diaspora, we have Marie Charlotte, who's from the NGO Afropreneur. We also have Celeste, who's also working with the diaspora. You're from the African Foundation for Development and Migration. And then finally we have Grace, who's from an NGO focusing, called Forward, focusing on women as well. So let's now kick this discussion off on development and Africa. Jean-Luc, talk to us a little bit about what you do. Blogging is, of course, a kind of fun phenomenon, you could say, but you're specifically focused on the kind of EU development projects that are in place.
Yes, I would say maybe to make people understand well that I'm a storyteller. So I do that through blogging. I've been part of a program called Faces to Hearts for the last 5 months, and I've traveled to 7 countries of West and Central Africa, discovering different development projects that are funded by the European Union, but basically finding the human story side of those projects. So getting to meet beneficiaries, understanding their stories, and knowing how their lives are getting changed by these development projects, and then share those stories through blogging and through photography.
Okay, so tell us a story.
Oh, okay, I have so many, so I don't know which one to start.
Tell us maybe there was a really fun experience. I'm sure all this panel would like to know about a really fun experience you had blogging through Africa.
Well, I think the whole experience was really fun. I mean, being an African, traveling to other countries of Africa, at the start I thought that I wasn't going to discover much, but the truth is I did. I really discovered so many inspiring stories. And I would say that, let me tell you a story that inspired me the most instead of the fun one. Yeah, I think there is this story that this guy that I met in Ivory Coast, and he had illegally migrated to Italy. But of course he was deported back to his homeland in Ivory Coast. But he came with nothing, because he had paid everything for the journey, for the journey. And then when he came back, he was helped by this project that helped him to, get faith, get hope that he can rebuild a life. And he actually started a workshop where he makes clothes for people. And actually his business is running pretty well. And he was telling me that now I don't understand why young Africans need to go to the Western world, where life is harder here. It's harder to make. Why don't we Africans actually start life here? Make our countries better. We can make a life here. And he was telling me that I don't feel like going to any other country anymore. I feel like I'm from here. This is my origins. I need to make a life here. I need to make things work here. So this is something that really inspired me as a young person, but also as an African.
Okay, lovely. Now let me come a little bit forward to the 2 guys who are working with a diaspora. Now what Jean-Luc was saying is that he met a guy from the Ivory Coast who had tried to go to Italy, and then obviously he got sent back, and so he realized that being in Africa is the better place for him, lots of opportunities. So what kind of works do the diaspora do to maybe help back home?
Actually, I'm the general manager of Afropreneur, which is an initiative we started 2 years ago.
It's a great name, by the way.
Thank you. I branded it. So basically, we're working with young people of the African diaspora between 18 and 35. We're trying to encourage them to get into entrepreneurship and go back to the motherland in order to create businesses and start their own business, which will create employment as well for the youth over there. So we're really trying to encourage the African diaspora to take ownership of their own power and their intimate relation in terms of cultural heritage with Africa, in order for them to build businesses who are going to provide this help we really need in terms of development. We believe that entrepreneurship is the way forward.
And Celeste, what about you?
I think our story actually has been engineered by the high-level dialogue of the UN in 2013, which actually brought the diaspora to discussion and to recognize also the efforts of the diaspora. So thereabout, we have started to come in as members of the diaspora to bring what we have gained from where we are back home. People will talk to you about how much the diaspora has been remitting back home. It is in billions of USD, but why has Africa remained poor despite this massive amount of money that is being injected in our economy? So we think that money is good, but there's something else that is missing, and that's the know-how, the technology. And we think that is where we, the members of the diaspora, can bring a difference. And that's how we came about to start up the African Foundation for Migration and Development, which is a platform for Africans, members of the diaspora in Switzerland, that bring back the know-how and the technology back home. So what we have done in NS, we are quite new. We started in 2015, November, and we have developed a big project, which was the first of all to intervene in Sierra Leone, which is aimed at developing further to other West African countries. And our major project is to help in the reconstruction of post-Ebola period, post-Ebola crisis. We have the health sector that is a bit damaged, and we are now bringing our competencies and some funds to help in the medical facilities to help, first of all, the survivors. Because people think that Ebola is all over, is finished, there's no more problem, but it's when we got there last year, November, we found that it's not like that. We have a lot of survivors who are still having some side effects. And our major intervention now is to assist them in getting out of the situation in which they find themselves. And we hope thereafter to start also training of the survivors as medical practitioners. Because the idea is that those who survive it, they are already immune. So when you have another outbreak somewhere, this can be the people we can send in different places to help the patients, so they don't risk being contaminated. And of course, recently we started developing a new project also for northern part of Nigeria. Most of you have heard about how Boko Haram have been kidnapping young girls, killing people, and so on and so forth. But most of them that were caught by the Nigerian military were interviewed. And the reality becomes that most of them that goes to fight, they're not going there because out of religious conviction. They go there because that's a way to make money for their living. They are people without future, they don't have a means of livelihood. So we decided then that we will come in to help train them in some vocational training institutes that are there on the ground, and equip them and empower them to start up their own businesses.
Now, let me just bring in Grace now, Celeste. Celeste has been talking for a little bit. I want to bring in Grace before we carry on a little bit more. Grace, obviously you're working specifically on women's health. Now, of course, this is, as you can probably say as well, it's an important year for women. We're having a lot of women's movements, and of course the European Development Days is focused on women, equality. So talk to us a bit about your experience over these 2 days.
So over these 2 days, I have had the opportunity to attend many discussions, panel discussions and talks with incredible women who do some incredible work across the globe. So our organisation, Forward UK, is the UK's leading Africa diaspora organisation that focuses on enhancing the rights, well-being and dignity of African women and girls, and just girls, African women and just women and girls generally. So our work is mainly focused around eliminating harmful practices like FGM, child marriage and also obstetric fistula. We are also now working in Tanzania to support young mothers, young girls who have become child mothers and therefore...
Okay, 1 second. So all that noise behind you is the young leaders who are making a lot of noise and not letting Grace speak. So Grace, all of you watch out, you might have to shout like I am. Sure. Okay, so Grace, carry on.
Yeah, so our work is focused mainly on eliminating harmful practices like FGM, child marriage and also obstetric fistula. And we're also currently working in Tanzania with young girls who have become child mothers and as a result are unable to attend school. And Forward is really big on enhancing women's equality, girls' rights, and ensuring that they are empowered and they have dignity and they're able to succeed in life regardless of their situations or their circumstances. Forward also has a young women's leadership program called Tuwezeshe, where young African women in the UK between the age of 18 and 26 can come together. They're giving funding to run their own social action projects, and that gives them entrepreneurial skills. It also gives
what sort of action projects?
Anything that they are passionate about. So it could be in creative film, media, art. It could be if they're interested in human rights or policy and advocacy. So that means that they're able to go to Parliament and kind of influence that space of power. If that is what they're passionate about. Some of the girls go on and do research projects. And actually, right here at EDD, right down that way, all the pictures that go straight down the hallway is one of the social action projects of one of the youth advocates who came through the Tuwezeshe Fellowship, and she created those pictures as a way of, it was My Body, My Power campaign, as a way of saying girls have rights and they have dignity and they have rights to their own body and that is their power. And it's just so great to have an organisation like Forward represented here at EDD through those pictures. So that is just one example of kind of the leadership that Forward is trying to encourage of young women and girls.
Okay, now as we are obviously talking, the focus, I should say, of the European Development Days this year is women and empowerment and equality. Let's go back to the other lady of the panel. So what are your thoughts about what you've seen here? I mean, do you think there's been enough of the right action or thoughts being made on what should the next steps be for women's place in the world?
I think there have been amazing discussions, actually. I managed to follow a few, although we're at the stand 49 trying to meet people. As founders of this association, we're three African women, and we've been able to attract many women as well towards us. And EDD is the right place for us to be because then we can engage with the institutions and the public sector, with all those amazing people as well we've met. Like I was speaking with Alexander De Croo, and he's really looking to encourage this initiative and help us further train and help the African diaspora start their own project. Yes, young people have a lot of energy and we want to capture that energy. So I'm very excited to be here, definitely. It's my second time coming to EDD, and I think we can look forward to more collaborations with the public sector as well and with the Commission in order to help us better articulate our project, because we're a non-for-profit organization. We're not a big non-for-profit organization. We're only 5 members at the moment, but what we do I think is amazing regarding that we don't have a lot of funding at the moment, so I think it's very important to...
That was a pitch right there for funding.
Yes. I think it's very important to actually fund female-led organizations, which is very hard to find right nowadays. So yeah, girl power.
Girl power indeed. But let's go to a little bit of boy power. Jean-Luc, I mean obviously I guess for you as someone who is quite young, it's a bit of an eye-opener perhaps to come to an event like this?
Yeah, pretty much, because it's my second time as well. I was here in 2015, yeah. And I mean, it's a nice platform to meet change makers, to meet people making solutions, so making things work, things get better. So I think it's a way of learning from each other, of getting inspired, but also of course a way to connect, and of course a way of exhibiting, because I have an exhibition as part of Fist of Arts. So I think it was also a way for me to tell those stories that I saw on the ground.
So what's your exhibition about? If we can plug that a little bit on CGTN?
Yeah, so it's basically about stories, because all we do is stories. So human stories that we are 4 bloggers actually who traveled around the world. So each blogger traveled in the region. So we came up with highlights, human stories, and we exhibited them through pictures and through short stories. So if you pass by our stand, you can just see amazing pictures, amazing stories, and yes.
Okay. Celeste, now coming back to Celeste. I mean, obviously, Africa is one of the biggest donors, the recipients of EU funding. So how important do you think it is for organizations like yourselves to be representing Africa?
I actually differ when you said that we are recipients. Actually, we are giving a lot. And I also want to say that such giving actually does not help Africa to develop. Like I said, we have got a lot of aids in the past 50, 60 years since our independence, and you see yourself where we are. So we in the diaspora are of the opinion, like the President of the Commission said this yesterday in the opening remark, it is time to start constructing a real partnership for development on equal basis, whereby if I have bauxite, if I have gold, if I have diamond, if I have cocoa, I get the right price for it. I determine my price. I determine whom I sell to. So not until we get to that level, we will still remain recipients, as we said. So we want to move away from receiving, and we want to get into the level of exchanging, like more or less how we're doing it with China. It's not, we have not gotten to where we want to be, but when you see our relationship with China, I can say we have profited much more than what we have got over 40, 50 years we have been dealing with the West. So what we want to do, or what we are asking for, is that time to tell us what our interests should be is gone to the past. We want to defend our own interests, to formulate our own interests, and at the same time do business with whoever on equal partnership. And that's the only way Africa can come out of the area that we find ourselves today. Because we continue to receive, we will never move anywhere.
You'd like to speak? Which one of you like to take it first?
So I would also like to talk about how the fact that it really is important to empower women and girls. If half of the population are not contributing to the economy cannot be as strong as it needs to be. And we also need to focus on education, eliminating harmful practices like FGM, so that women and girls across the globe, not just in Africa but across the globe, can truly fulfill their full potential, and they can thrive and be the best that they can be. I think that inequalities and injustices such as gender-based violence and discrimination, that also adds to the fact that women are sometimes lacking in access and use of certain things. You know, you have some places where women can't access technologies or ICTs because they are excluded from that market, because some people feel that it's not the place for women, which is not right at all. And you know, things like not having your voice heard, not being able to speak, living in silence, not talking about gender-based violence or whatever the struggles might be that you're facing, that also adds to inequalities as well. And I think it's great to be here at EDD, where those discussions are happening, solutions are being discussed as to how can we help, you know, women across the globe, in Africa, in Asia, wherever the place might be, to truly thrive and come out of situations where they are unequal and it's unjust. So I think tackling those issues are very, very important, and I think we need to continue bringing up practical solutions to deal with them.
Okay, I'll give the floor. The last question now to the lady on the panel. Your thoughts?
So I think here we're at the European Development Days, so we're talking about development. I think for Africans, as we represent Africa here, it's important for us as Africans to redefine what we understand by the word development. And like the gentleman on my left said, it's important for us to get away from aid and move towards a cooperation, but that is equal to equal. And the way we're going to do that for Afropreneur, for us, is to promote youth entrepreneurship in the diaspora, but also on the continent. And what's amazing is yesterday we were able to meet people from Burkina Faso, from Kenya and Zimbabwe as well, who want to work with us to bring this program to Africa. So we're going to be able to start the same activities, training, coaching, and supporting young entrepreneurs, especially women, because I think it's very important to tell that as well. Women are more trustworthy when it comes to lending, and if you can fund
women are more trustworthy in general, or period.
So if you're talking about lending money and funding a business, you can trust a woman because you know she's going to bring it to a certain level where she can sustain and create opportunities. Yes, we've got the level, and it's a fact. I'm not even just saying that because I'm a woman. So we want to be able to work with people who have trust funds and maybe funds as well, in order to help women entrepreneurship, but youth entrepreneurship in general.
Jean-Luc, any last thoughts?
I would not go far from what they said. I think if we need a powerful continent as Africa, we really need strong women. We need to empower women. There's something that I mentioned last. If we need to make sure that violence that is made against women is really eradicated. We need to consider the culture side of it. So we need to find a common ground that includes the culture side, but also that protects the rights of women. And I think those are the kind of solution that Africa needs right now.
Okay, well, guys, thank you so much. It's been a lovely discussion. To all of our viewers on CGTN, you've been watching a live stream from the European Development Days 2018. I'm Mariam Zaidi from Brussels. Bye-bye.